Welcome everybody back to If You're Fat, Lose Weight, a common sense podcast about common sense topics for common sense people. And today, boy, oh boy, we are honored to have our first female guest, I think. We might run one with a female before, but I think this is the first time we're recording with a female. My second cousin, Sheera Goren. Yes! Give it up for her. She's giving it up for herself. So sure. Usually we do a little bit about how we know each other. You're my second cousin. I grew up in Northern California. You grew up where?
Southern California.
There you go. And we got together for Passover, for Rosh Hashanah. I guess sometimes Thanksgiving, although that's a holiday I do with my dad, my dad's family. You know, we had to segregate the holidays. But yeah, I've known you my whole life. So thank you for doing this. Anything you want to talk about before we get started? Anything you want to say? Get off your chest.
No, it just the question of how we know each other. I feel like the once a year memories of Joel. I feel like you were wild, but in an aspirational way.
Thank you.
Like I wanted to be friends with you.
Yeah, we are friends.
But I didn't. We are friends.
Yeah.
But you scared me a little. I'm nervous right now a little bit. You just never know.
I understand. We're gonna go places that you might not want to go with this, and we're just gonna let it flow. But we know each other from childhood, and then we actually went to college together. And you're a professional athlete, or a collegiate athlete, and you were a soccer player at Michigan. I was a partier and drinker at Michigan. And we crossed paths there. I used to see you in the bars dancing with guys. I don't. That's the best way to describe
football players.
Football players. Athlete on athlete dancing, and that was very good. But today we're here to talk about sexuality. So for me, we have these conversations I have these conversations with people about different topics, but we're not here for stats. We're not here for anything like that. We're here to hear about people's journey, and you have a very interesting journey. We can give the listeners a little bit of like where this is headed. You are currently living with a woman, and correct me if I'm wrong. Is that accurate statement?
Yes, a woman who's also my girlfriend, not just like Correct. A random woman.
Right. Yeah. So you're currently living with a woman that you're dating. That's your girlfriend.
Sure.
And
yes.
And this is the first woman that you've ever dated?
Correct.
And you've had many male boyfriends previous to this?
Many, yeah. Yeah. Okay. My mom wished a bit more, but yeah.
Well, of course. She's a Jewish mother. She wished you were married to a rich doctor by the time you were 22 and pumping out children. But that's okay. Sure. Well, and by the way, Hot Lips Goren, great lady. That's her name. Hopefully she's listening. Or maybe not. I don't know. But, she's a great lady. So let's start with your... For lack of a better term, let's start with your sexual journey. To be honest, I want to know, like, how old were you when you started having sexual feelings of any kind, and who they were for, and how that process started for you.
Sure, I'll jump in and you can interrupt me as we go along. So I've always felt more. I think growing up, I just always had guy friends. I was always athletic. I always had was just surrounded by guys and always really liked guys, but never, I think when like that, I don't know where that inflection point is when it's like cool to be a girl that like plays sports and then guys get more attracted to like the girls that don't.
Right.
I didn't have a lot of boyfriends in high school. I might have peaked in like fourth grade. Like I had a lot of boyfriends then, but in high school, I never really had boyfriends, not for lack of wanting. I don't know if I just wasn't really comfortable with myself, or I was always like friends with guys, not sexual with guys.
Okay.
And I went to college, and my first sexual experiences were not until I was a professional athlete at Michigan.
Oh, really? Your first sexual experiences at all? Okay, so like when was your first kiss?
First kiss was probably like 15. 16.
15. So you're like
first,
a ninth grader.
With tongue. With tongue kiss.
Yeah. Like 7 minutes in heaven. Like let's get it going. Maybe a little feel ski, you know?
Yeah. Not the feel ski, but yeah, maybe for some.
All right. So you're 15, you're making out. And I presume this is with a man. A boy.
Yes.
A boy. Not a man. Hopefully not. Hopefully not a man. Okay. So this is with a boy. Okay. So you're 15. And when is your first, like, do you remember having like sexual feelings, growing up? For me, this was, I started masturbating by accident when I was like 5. I used to not be able to sleep at night and rub a stuffed animal on my penis until I got to the good part, is what I called it. And and Jeremy and I, my brother was we had bunk beds, and I threw up my stuffed animal. I was like, dude, rub this on your penis till you get to the good part. So like, I don't know what age that happened, but like he came home in 5th grade and was like, oh, the thing you do with Belinda, which was the dog, my stuffed animal dog, is called masturbating. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a cool long word that I probably can't spell. But so like, I remember having like very like, I was like horny, without, I'd see a movie with a girl with big boobs and I would be like thinking about them as I'm rubbing Belinda on my penis, before I knew what masturbation was. So like, tell us about that whole experience for you, if you're comfortable doing that.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go there. So from like a very early age, first of all, masturbation for girls is still feels so different than guys.
Right.
People don't talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like I was like 5 or 6 or 7, like very young.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things that like I knew wasn't like something I should do alone, but like didn't know exactly what it was, other than like probably the same feelings you had with Belinda.
Yeah, Belinda. Yeah. Great guy. Great guy. Yeah.
So it was from a very early age. So the sexual feelings of like knowing that felt good for me, it wasn't like an outward feeling. But like that for me happened very early. And I remember like my housekeeper, if she would walk in, would call me like cucina. Like it was like, oh, it's not a good thing, but also like felt natural. Just no one would talk about it. It just was like bad or like a shameful thing. I mean, if we're just going to have this open podcast, something that, I mean, my immediate family knows, but no one else knows, was that, and I don't know exactly how this played in, if it plays in at all, but so when I was like 5 or 6, I was sexually molested by my housekeeper's husband. Oh, wow. So that, I think, definitely had an impact, I think, on my like sexual journey after that. But I didn't really deal with that until I was like in my later 20s. And so all I knew is I had that, and then I had like my own kind of masturbation experiences for myself.
Wow. Okay. I didn't.
Sorry to just drop that.
No, I didn't know that. And like,
yeah.
Okay. Well, so when you say you didn't deal with that, do we, now that you've dealt with that, and without going into details, because that's none of our business. Yeah, different podcast. Wow.
Sorry.
Like thank you for sharing. No, without going into details of what that actual experience was, unless you really want to, I mean, we'd love to hear it. But what were the feelings that you dealt with in your 20s that like what happened between the time you were molested until you dealt with those feelings? How did that affect you? What have you figured out about that?
Well, I think one, like I didn't talk about it for like, I mean, I've lived the majority of my life not talking about it. So that, but I think what sparked it was like sex with all of my boyfriends. Like I never enjoyed sex. Like it didn't feel good for me. And 2, I was like hyper insecure and self-conscious about like my body. Which again, I don't know like all of the reasons, but I think a part of it is also like my first interaction with like being touched like wasn't on my terms or like didn't feel good. And so that, I think, feeling like a sexual person, but not having the actual act of sex with my boyfriends at the time feeling good. And none of them knew about that. So I felt like I was just like kind of trying to figure out exactly what felt good for me or why I was having these feelings, like alongside, trying to also enjoy something that, I think in societal, like you should enjoy
Right.
sex. So
After a certain point, you should definitely enjoy sex with a partner that you trust and love or really like or whatever. Yes.
which until I like was intimate with my girlfriend now, like had never felt like that. To me was like, oh, I get it, which could be a combination of a lot of things, but that felt very different than my previous sexual experiences.
Interesting. Okay, so let's go back though further. Let's go back to the beginning. So you're doing your form of masturbation when you're very young, and what are you thinking about? Not when you're 5, but like as you're getting older and you're going through puberty and you're kind of exploring whatever your thoughts are in a sexual way. Like, what are you attracted to?
Like, what am I? I mean, you're asking what am I masturbating to, or just like what do I think?
What are you masturbating about? Even if you're walking down the street and you're like, whoa, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Guy. I mean, like mostly men. I think that like for the majority of my life, I am attracted to men. So I would think about men or fantasize, especially like before I like had sex with guys. I think I would fantasize about guys that I found attractive and what that would be like. I feel like I remember watching like whenever a movie would come on and there'd be like a heterosexual sex scene and like if there was 2 women kissing, like I think I was like very engaged. I think I had questions in my head. I think that like if I'm being truthful, like I would be like, oh, that's kind of hot, but not necessarily in a way like I would associate myself with, as opposed to just like observing from like an earlier age.
Okay, so you were curious. It sounds like you were intrigued and curious about the girl on girl situation, but when you were having sexual thoughts most of the time, when you're masturbating, or what you were attracted to in your own mind, it was men.
Yes.
So that's an accurate encapsulation of what you just said.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. As an athlete, okay, I've been around athletics my whole life until very recently. As an athlete, you see women's athletics and you see a lot of homosexuals that play athletics and a lot of homosexual activity, just candidly, within women athletics, even at an early age. Did you see a lot of that? Were you exposed to a lot of that? Do you agree with that assessment? And what are your thoughts there? Yeah,
I think it's in a stereotypical way. There are probably more homosexual relationships in female athletics. So for me with soccer, for my team experience, I didn't see it really at all. Growing up, my club team, and then at Michigan, I don't know. Now it feels like maybe there's some people, well, I guess I'll say it this way. My Michigan team, I feel like there were definitely some people who I felt like could be, but like it was not talked about, and there weren't a lot of homosexual relationships. Although on the greater teams of like field hockey and basketball, not like putting those down, but like there were a lot of relationships that were going on there, but my soccer team wasn't. But now as an adult, I would say like 3 out of my best 5 girlfriends from my club team, all married women, but all dated men throughout high school and even into college.
Wow.
But ended up, and now they're with women and they have kids with a woman. So
with women.
Yes.
Wow. And that was, you're saying from your club team, you said.
Yeah. In LA, my premier club team here.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So club team, for people who don't know, is like the advanced team of any soccer specific, but I guess it could be basketball and other sports too, but any advanced, pre-collegiate athletics. Okay. So I didn't mean to stereotype, but I've been around women's basketball, and there's undoubtedly a lot of lesbians that play women basketball. If that's offensive to people, I'm sorry. And I'm not trying to be offensive. That's just my experience. The same thing for field hockey. Yeah. I actually know some field hockey players. I obviously know some WNBA players or some some just women who play basketball. So that's what I was trying to find out. Was it the same in soccer? And you said no, but now, three of your five best friends from your club soccer team are married to women with children. That is fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I think your experience is correct. It was like my direct experience, like the girls that I was around, just like from college, most of them are married to men and dated men and had boyfriends. But the greater kind of athletic department was not shy of female relationships. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So you go to college. Okay. So, wait, let's go back. So you're 15, you have your first kiss. Okay.
Yeah.
Through high school, what's your dating life like? What's your sexual experience like? Tell us a little bit about that. Do you have any boyfriends, etc.?
Boring, really boring. I mean, again, to my mom, hot lips chagrin, kind of boring. I had like, did I even have a real boy? I don't even think I had like a boyfriend in high school. Like at some of the after parties, got a little drunk and made out with some people, but like I didn't date. And most of my girlfriends were like boy obsessed. Whereas like that was kind of maybe a first turning point where I was like, I don't feel like all these girls are like obsessed with like going to see this guy or talking about this guy or whatever. I just never, I don't think like a lot of my identity was wrapped up in whether I had a boyfriend or not. And that's not to say like I had massive crushes on guys.
So you did, you had massive crushes.
Yeah. And they would, be dating like the hot girl in high school. And so, I definitely felt like I had crushes on just guys. And it didn't feel like I was like, looking back, I was limiting myself. I just was like really attracted to some guys.
What does that mean, the hot girls in high school? I mean, you're a good looking person. Are you not?
No, like, what do you say?
You're a good looking person. Am I wrong there?
I mean, I think I'm blooming in my 30s, but
no, I disagree. I disagree. I think you've always been good looking. You put yourself together nicely. I don't know, but okay, fine, whatever.
Like the girl, like not.
Yeah, no,
like,
I get it.
It wasn't like the athlete. It was like the.
I got it.
Like if she played a sport, it'd be volleyball.
I got it, of course. Okay, I got it. California, yeah. Okay, so
yeah.
So these people that you're making out with at these when you get drunk at these high school parties, they are men. Yes. Exclusively.
Yeah. Yeah. Like 2 were on the football team with my brother. Yeah. Exclusively men. And again, like that's all I thought about. I was attracted to.
Right. Okay. So there was a twinge of this, that, and the other. At what age, and maybe not, and maybe this, you don't watch any porn, but what age were you introduced to pornography?
I feel like I remember when I was like, maybe in like 6th or 7th grade, my friend's brother had like a magazine. But I don't have like moments where I like maybe from that. And then maybe like when it was like old school cable, there'd be like one channel that you'd get it like blurry through the cable channel.
Yeah. Hot Lips had all the channels though. She subscribed to all the movie channels, probably some of the Playboy channels.
Probably in them. Yeah, exactly. So I remember like that, and it was kind of like, it piqued my interest a bit, but like I didn't seek it out. Like it was not something that I like remember trying to view or see. And again, when I like would watch something and there'd be any sort of like sexual scene, like that I would like, if I was able to like rewind or like watch it again to that point, I was very interested in it. But
were you interested in heterosexual scenes as well as girl on girl scenes? How about boy on boy scenes? I don't know that there were so many boy on boy scenes when we were growing up. I mean, honestly, I
don't really feel. Also, like not for me, but support anyone who likes that, but not for me.
Okay, and so that's high school. So you go to college. You're an athlete. You're dancing with the football players at touchdowns, ass fully out, like grinding into them. That's kind of what I remember viewing, and I was like, "Wow, this is something." What's your college dating life, boyfriend life, girl, anything life action happening?
So, freshman year of college, I mean, it was kind of weird going in as an athlete, just because your only nights off are Sundays, which is like
you're very insulated. Yeah.
You're very insulated. So my hookups were all within the athlete world. And the boys soccer team lived like down the hall from us. So my first experience of like going past the makeout phase, like touching the peen and all that was with the goalkeeper of the soccer team, who I thought was so hot. I mean, he's like a very, very hot guy.
Very nice. How was the penis?
He was wasted, but I was like,
and
it was great. It was great.
You were sober, or you were also wasted?
I was definitely not as drunk as him, but I was very attracted to him.
Okay.
And yeah, my like first experience with a BJ was we're just laying it all out there right now.
We're just letting it fly. We're letting it fly.
Well, the only reason it's funny to me is because it was for all those Jews out there, it was Erev Yom Kippur, so it was like before the day of fasting. So it was like so that was
gotta get
just
there's a protein joke in there somehow.
Not a choice I've ever made again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So okay. And this is in college. Is this with the goalie as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was your first, and do you remember what year you were?
Freshman year.
Freshman year. Yeah. What year you were? Yeah. Freshman year.
Freshman year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in college, you're dating. Were you guys dating, or you're just hooking up?
No. It was just a good moment for me. Yeah.
All right. So you're giving hand jobs, you're giving blow jobs, and then you're gonna go fast and repent about it. And
yeah.
And did you have any boyfriends in college? And when did you lose your virginity? I assume it was in college as well, you said?
Yeah. So going into freshman year, so that was like probably the only real like hookup I had my first semester. But going into freshman year, I started birth control. And a side effect of that was that I had gained weight. Mm-hmm. So that affected, I think, again, me, or like how I felt about myself, all the things. And so my freshman year was kind of like, I definitely didn't have a boyfriend. I wasn't that comfortable with myself. I went off birth control, and then I had like a low thyroid thing. So once we got that under control, I came back into sophomore into junior year, and like I had like lost that weight. I was feeling much better about myself. Like it was like a way different version, and I had stopped playing soccer, so it was like right. I was like, okay, now I'm ready for what college is all about.
Right, make up for some lost time. Yeah,
and I probably the most scandalous story about myself. Well, I guess not now that I'm dating a woman, but previous to that. Right. I went abroad to Barcelona, as one does. And my coach of my soccer team, who I was 21, but we had become like friends. He had been training me, but then we'd become like friendly. He came to visit Barcelona, and I lost my virginity to him in Barcelona.
Wow. How old was he?
Man, now that's crazy. He was probably 34.
Wow. Really inappropriate for that coach. Is he still coaching?
I don't think so. He's so hot. He was so hot.
Did the girls agree with you?
I felt so comfortable. Yes. Everyone thought he was so hot, but everyone, like, at the time, they were like, he's so much older. And I don't know why. I was comfortable with him. I felt like it was like, in terms of losing my virginity, it was like, I felt safe with him. And it didn't, people could be like, that sounds predatory. It didn't feel that way. It was like, it was very comfortable for me. And then it was also this kind of like romantic, we like went to like Valencia, and it was like this whole,
nice. So you had like a whole weekend. And were you having like sex like the whole time?
Yeah.
And you never, it never started to feel good.
So the like intimacy part, or like feeling close to someone, or like making out with someone, or that, but like the actual like penetration of it did not feel
it never felt good. No, never got to a good feeling.
No, I mean, the whole thing was like, I was like, am I ever going to orgasm with a guy? I mean, it just was like, again, I mean, I've never shared all of this. So like, but
Yeah, no, this is good. This is good.
when you masturbate, especially
Yep.
as a female, it's much harder. You're like, oh, okay, I know how I feel good. I can do that. And then it's like, doesn't feel like that. But also you're not really taught like to articulate like what you need or what you want, or like,
Well,
you don't
early on in
know
your sexual
anything.
experience,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to do that. I mean, especially with an
exactly.
older guy, especially, once you're in a marriage, honestly, I know what my wife, what gets her going. If her parents are listening, we've never had sex. Don't worry. But for the rest of the people, I mean, you figure it out. But yes, at that point, it's hard to articulate. It takes women a long time to get comfortable doing that. Okay. So you lose your virginity in Barcelona, and is this like a one-time thing? Are we out there like, oh, this is a guy from, Cornell. Here's a guy from Wisconsin. Here's are we doing that? Or are we selective in how we're trying to accomplish our sexual journey?
Yeah, I think that, again, to my mother's dismay, I was more selective and not as slutty as I've always wanted to be. I just haven't done it. But no, until then. So that was junior year, and then after that, I had a few boyfriends, end of junior year and into senior year that I slept with. But I don't think I had any like random one-time sexual partners.
No, you've never had a one-night stand with sex?
No. With sex? No.
Interesting.
No.
Okay. Okay. So
I'm not.
All right. So you have a couple boyfriends. What's your longest boyfriend length in college?
8 months.
8 months. That's a long time.
Senior year.
And are you fully like, I like this guy a lot. I'm going to tell him maybe I love him. I could see potentially getting married to this guy, blah, blah, blah. Like that's your thought. Like I have no sexual feeling towards women. I'm definitely going to marry a guy, have kids and et cetera. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like I feel like early on I always thought like, who you could be attracted to was kind of on a spectrum, but I even still was like, I was with guys with my boyfriends and I just thought that was what I was attracted to, not like, oh, society is telling me that I need that. I was really attracted to guys, and with my boyfriend too. Yeah. So I didn't really question it at all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. After college, you moved back to LA. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm in New York before law school. So New York for like a year and a half. Okay.
New York for a year and a half. And any boyfriends there? Any straying into the any thoughts about women at all?
No, not New York. I slept with a few so a lot of my guy friends that I had from a younger age, I've slept with all of them now since then.
Nice. Good
so
work.
Like I think I just had to get a little bit older. So no boyfriends there. Okay. And no thoughts or like feelings towards any women.
Okay, so when you say no boyfriends, just for clarification, you're having sex with guys. You've never had a one-night stand. So you're like hooking up with like a guy for like a couple weeks and then fizzles out?
I just don't think I didn't hook up with that many people. Like for me, it was always like, if I don't like them, like the whole like drunken thing for me was like, I just was never, I'm still like not attracted. I never attracted someone who's just like really, really drunk. So
yeah, I don't know who's attracted to guys who are who's attracted to anybody really, really sloppy drunk. Why is that attractive?
How Lauren fell in love with you?
No, I think she was a little, I don't know what, I actually can't figure it out. I mean, she had gained a little weight in the beginning of college, not from birth control, more from like late night ZD rolls, but like then she lost weight. I don't understand. I still don't understand. She's much better looking and obviously has a lot more money than me. But anyways, we can talk about that if you want to flip it around. But okay, so you're in New York for a year and a half. Then you go to law school. Where do you go to law school?
Go to UCLA.
Of course.
And
go Bruins.
Day one, I was a 1L, and the guy who was like leading the group, he was a JD MBA student. I thought he was hot. And we started dating. And it was like one of those things where he was like, a surfer, so we would like surf before school, and then I'd like come in. It was like a whole thing. I loved it.
Didn't know where you were going with that. Okay, you loved it. Okay, good. I mean,
Yeah,
that's nice.
I did.
It's a nice thing. Okay, and you went to law school for 3 years. You dated this guy for how long?
Only first semester, so like 4 months, 5 months.
Okay,
Like
and
that.
it just fizzles out. There's nothing bad that happens.
Just not the one.
Okay,
But again,
and
still dating to find the one.
still dating to find the one. And at this point, you're 24. So at this point, are you starting to see your friends get married? Has that started to happen yet in California, or not so much?
At 20, I think my first friend at 25 got married. That was the first wedding that I was in. And then I feel like every year subsequently, it was just like magnified.
Started coming more frequently. Right. Okay. So
yes.
So you're in law school, and you're dating other guys periodically, or are you starting to find that it's harder to find guys at this point yet?
I feel like in law school, I had a lot more guys coming at me. Like, I don't think I've ever felt like chased.
Nice.
I had a few suitors. I just wasn't as into them or attracted to them. So, I didn't date a lot. I mean, I hooked up with a few of them, and then my third year, I started dating one of my, friends who went to Michigan, who also went to law school. And so we started dating my third year through like taking the bar and stuff. So that was, again, like kind of another one that was really just like comfortable for me because we knew each other.
So it seems like the majority of your partners are people that you have known in previous stops in your life, and you're comfortable with them. And are you orgasming with any of these men?
No.
You haven't had an orgasm with one man. Are you talking about you haven't had one orgasm?
Yes.
Oh my God. So does sex feel good with any of these men?
I mean, it's not like it was all like bad, but it wasn't like, oh, this is what everyone's talking about, or like, this is amazing. A lot of it is like, I felt like I was more of like a giver, and then it was like getting through the sex because like I knew like I wouldn't orgasm from it.
Right.
But again, it was probably in my head, and I was also like a lot of reasons why. But yeah, that was the experience of it.
That's wild. I mean, truly wild. So like sex must have just been horrible. Must have been like a chore.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Again, the like emotional, connection of the intimacy, but yeah,
but even so, the actual sex, where a guy's like thrusting like in you, and it's like, like you'd rather be kissing, right? Like, it's like, and like touching, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so odd. That's wild. That's wild. Okay. So.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I did have a one night stand with the guy. I mean, we went to sushi dinner before, but I didn't see him again after. So that qualifies, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Is that like you went on a date to sushi, then you had sex, and then you never spoke to him?
Yeah. And
that's
omakase really gets me going.
It's very hot. Very hot. Very expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive, very hot. They just bring you they just bring you stuff. It's the best.
Yeah. The best.
Okay. So now we're outside of law school. Okay. And what is transpiring? You're working. And what's the situation with men? And how does it go with like, now that you're not a student, like, you know, you're never going to be a student again. How is your life? How are you operating in life?
Well, I mean, again, due to my Jewish community, I was getting set up left, right, and center. So I was going on a plethora of dates with guys where the majority of them, like nice guys, just like found myself just not attracted to any of them. Or if like past the second date, just like, it was like not for me, like didn't see it going anywhere, or like physically wasn't, or chemistry just wasn't there. So I was going on a lot of dates, mostly through setups. Like I never liked the apps or any of that. And I was getting kind of like fed a stream. So I didn't really need to. But again, like I had like one boyfriend for like 5 months, 4 months. It was a setup.
That's
that's
not an unreasonable amount of time. Yeah.
No, but he was religious but not Jewish, which was never going to work. So
religious. What religion? What religious? Not Jewish.
Christianity.
Oh well. Yeah.
Just wasn't gonna work. In general,
wasn't for you. Got it.
No, it was not. It was not for me. But that was, I think, my only boyfriend. When I was the first female.
That's where we were going next. But how old are you now? Currently.
Sorry, like as I sit here, or
as you sit here, how old are you?
Okay, I'm 35.
Okay, you're 35. Okay, so you graduate law school when you're 26, right? 26,
27,
roughly.
Yeah.
27. Okay, and you start working, and okay, so you're dating, you're getting set up by everybody. My brother set you up with one of his friends. You guys made out. I'm sure
a lot of tongue.
Yeah, I heard that. We won't mention his name, but a lot of tongue. Dude, calm down with the tongue, dude. I mean, it's enough with the tongue.
Yeah.
But okay, and everybody's setting you up in your life, and everybody's like, "Oh, Sheera's the best. Why can't she find a guy?" Etc. And at any point, have you frozen your eggs? Was any of that situation?
I did at 32. I did that. I mean, I was going to do that. I mean, I guess if I had kids before, but my doctor and my plan was always at 32. And this was a plan made before I started dating a woman anyways. So, but yes.
Okay. So by the way, you ever watch porn with any of these men that you're dating?
No.
Okay. You ever watch porn by yourself?
Yes.
Like in your before 30? And is it all heterosexual porn that you're watching? Like full porn?
The only full porn I've ever watched is heterosexual.
Okay.
Full porn.
Yes. Okay. So tell us, I don't know this story. So tell us, lead us to your first interaction with a woman in a sexual nature and how that happened.
Well, I mean, I'm just telling all the stories. So, I'll get to my current girlfriend, but my first like peaking of like interest was when I was working. There was a woman that also worked in the same company that I worked in, and she was really successful. She was really pretty, and she was Jewish. She was Jewish. I thought that she dated men. Like, I didn't think anything of it. And someone said, "Oh, like, she has a girlfriend." And that was the first time I was like, oh, like she, not to be stereotypical, but like I didn't think that she dated women. And
there's stereotypes, and then there's what you just said. I don't think you have to preface it with, I don't want to be stereotypical. I assumed that she dated men, but that's where we are in society. But thank you. Continue.
What I can say. Yeah, sure.
Continue.
Sure.
Continue.
And she was friends with like a couple of my other friends, and I don't really know how, but she thought I was attractive. I guess I had also I started she had people that I was friends with like worked in the same area as her, and started like kind of going there during work a little bit more. And I was like, oh, like what are these feelings? Like I'm kind of drawn to her in a way that I'm like, it's different. And I started it was my first experience kind of questioning like, what is that? And I think my first reaction for myself was like, oh, okay, yeah, I have those feelings, but like I would never do anything about that.
Okay, so at this point got it. Okay, wait. So at this point, have you made out with a woman?
No.
You've never gotten drunk and made out with a woman in front of guys?
No.
That's something that people did in high school and college to impress guys.
Missed that.
Okay, so you missed that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've never made out with a woman. You've never thought about being with a woman, really. And then you assume this woman is heterosexual. She actually might assume that you're not. And she thinks that you're attractive. You're very attracted to her. By the way, what does she look like? Give us a little visual.
I mean, she's blonde, stylish, like
nice. Yeah. Big boobs, big butt, skinny.
No, not thin. She's thin. Yeah.
Not for me. Okay, fine. Okay. But fair.
Your wife is thin.
I know, but I like more, thickness around places, but that's not important. Okay. So what ended up happening in this situation?
So, she got either my number through friends or something. And because we worked, she was like, if you want to grab a drink. And again, in my kind of like naive, like I knew she dated women, but I didn't. And I was just like, yeah, like, sure, like grab a drink. And it was like very clear when we got a drink that it was like more
it was a date.
Flirty.
Yeah, it was a date.
Yeah.
It was a date.
Yeah. Looking in the moment, I didn't know that. Right. Looking back, yeah.
Right.
It was.
30 minutes in, it became clear to you that this was different than just a normal girl on girl hang. How old are you at this point?
28.
28. So this is 7 years ago.
28 or 29.
Okay. This is 6-7 years ago. Okay. So what happens at the end of this date? Are we making out, or are we just like, these feelings are weird?
So at the end, we're like walking to the car, and she kisses me
on the lips.
Open mouth, on the lips, the real kiss.
Real kiss.
Yes.
Very nice. Are you kissing her back?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're kissing her back.
I was like, oh. In the moment felt like I was having this like out of body experience of like, okay, like this is so unlike rational, logical Sheera, who like makes all the decisions. I'm just like, okay, we're just going with it. And I wasn't leading, right? So I was just like following, and I really enjoyed it. Like it was like a very good kiss. Like I think in my head, I was always like, girls probably kiss better than guys anyways.
Okay. Probably. Okay.
But so yeah, it was a kiss, and
then what happens?
Then
do you get in the car and say bye, or what happens?
Yeah. Then we say bye, and after that, we hung out maybe like a handful of times. But I was so uncomfortable with the notion of like being in public or like. And also, like, it was like just kissing. Like I
where are your hands? Where are your hands while you're kissing?
Like, I mean, where are my hands when we're kissing? I mean, maybe around her, maybe like up by the face or something, but like not anywhere, like
not on her butt, no hands on her butt, not rubbing.
It was like very
stationary hands.
PG.
Stationary hands. Got
stationary hands.
Okay, so at this point, after this kiss. Okay, you leave that night. You've had a drink or two, but you're not very drunk. But you leave this night, and you like this, but you're saying to yourself, "What?" And what are you saying to others? Are you saying anything to other people? So let's just pause here. I have to address this. You have a homosexual. You have a brother who's a homosexual. Great guy, love him. We're not going to mention his name in case he doesn't want me to mention. If you want me to cut this part out, I can. He's married to a man. He's a great guy. If it were me, I'm putting myself in your shoes. I might reach out to him and be like, "What the fuck is this?" Maybe I wouldn't. I don't know how I'm feeling, but explain your thought process and what you're feeling, and if you talk to anybody about these feelings.
Yeah. So first, like my brother, who we love, his husband is the favorite child of the family. Like that whole situation. I still felt and still feel like my brother being gay feels different than a female either being lesbian or bisexual or any of those things, especially in like our community. Like now it kind of feels like having like a Jewish gay stun's like a cute badge of honor. Whereas like there's no one in my community or not a lot of people that feel like they're like women who talk about being bisexual or they're in female relationships. So it felt very different for me. And I think especially at that time, I didn't talk to anyone about it because I also was like, oh, this was a blip. That was a cute little kiss. And like the mutual friends knew about it, but like I didn't talk really to anyone about those feelings or like what that could be, thinking that was like something that happened that then wouldn't happen again for me. And I wasn't comfortable putting a label on like, what does that make me?
Got it. Okay. Totally understand. Okay. So you're 28 at this point. When is your next experience with a woman?
So when I was 31.
Okay. So between 28
and 31. My current girlfriend.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Between 28 and 31, what is happening sexually? Are you dormant? Are there cobwebs growing? Or are we active with other men?
I believe I had a boyfriend in between there, or if not a boyfriend, I slept with someone in between there. I was going on dates with guys.
You were.
I don't think I had I don't think I had a boyfriend because I felt like I was single for a long time between 29 and 31 or 32. So yeah, I was going on dates and I might have slept with a guy, but I would need to think about that time.
Okay.
But no other females. Yeah.
No other female. And are you thinking about this experience that you had with this woman? Is this coming up in your head a lot, or have you suppressed this and moved on, or trying to move on?
I think that like I both suppressed it and I also think about it and also remember specifically like the feelings I got like when I realized I'm like, oh, this is kind of flirty, and like that initial kiss of being like, that feeling is like, I feel like what people talk about when they're like first dating that I didn't have with a lot of the guys that I was going on dates with. So
did you ever have that feeling?
Yeah.
Did you ever have that feeling with guys?
I totally did. I totally had that feeling. I think that like now in my like older adulthood, I hadn't had that feeling going on so many dates with these guys that feeling that I had that time felt like, oh, I want that. And I wasn't getting that when I was going on dates with a lot of the guys, but I have had that with guys in the past.
Got it. Okay. So fast forward and let's hear about your current girlfriend, how that happened, and since what's transpired. But let's start from the beginning.
We were in. So one of my friends was getting married. So one of the girls that I played soccer with, who had the hottest boyfriends in high school, was now marrying a woman. Now she was marrying a woman.
Great.
And we were both in her wedding. I didn't know any of this friend group was like a majority of them were all in homosexual relationships. And I was like the single straight girl, if you will. Yeah. Right. Coming into this. And we were going to like the dress fitting and we saw each other on the street. And for me, it's the closest that I've ever like, or what I would understand is like love at first sight. Like something just changed for me. Like I was the attraction level. There felt like there was like a magnetic pull towards her. Ooh. And she's like tall, thinner, brown hair, or darker hair. And like, again, it caught me so off guard because like I had not gone into situations like feeling like, oh, I'm gonna be attracted to a woman. And I like immediately was like, oh gosh, like that. You were like,
oh my God, that feeling's back from the lady from when I was 28. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So it like knocks you off your feet, basically. I mean,
like can't stop thinking about her. Like it was all like, we were not in the same social circle. So the only time we saw each other was like for some wedding events, like leading up to it. Which then like there was a bachelorette party in Mexico that was kind of like the like culmination of like, then we kind of like, we didn't even make out or anything, but it was like the longest time we had spent together. But that was probably like between the dress fitting and the bachelorette, it was like 3 months of like kind of texting, kind of being in my head, thinking about her, not knowing what to do with those, not even thinking. It felt almost safe for me because I was like, nothing's going to happen. So I can like be whoever I want to be, but like, this isn't really going to.
Is she a lesbian? Is she a lesbian?
Yeah, she only dates women. Yeah.
Okay, so she's like a full lesbian at that time, and you're like texting her as like this straight single girl who's bi-curious, and you're like really in like with her. You're in lust with her, and what is she thinking? Is she like, what's up with this straight girl, or is she thinking this straight girl's in the closet and I'm about to turn her out, or something in between?
So I didn't know, but like some of her past girlfriends, their only female relationship had been with her. And some of them have married men and some of them date other women. But
what a confusing situation for her to be like the girl that everybody like tries out to see if they're gay. Like
although like, she's like no one's off limits because just who cares if you've dated a guy before, because that hasn't stopped other people in the past. But she was dating someone else at the time. So like, again, like I didn't know this group that well, but she had a girlfriend at that time. So
What are the
for me,
rules
yeah.
for lesbians? Are you allowed to hook up with other women while you're together with another woman, or like
I mean, I
while
think
you're
the rules
together
are the same. It's whatever as a couple. I
that
mean,
you
this
guys decide?
probably happens more often, I think,
Right.
stereotypically, but
Right. Stereotypically.
um,
Right.
but yeah, I don't think like the majority of couples, at least that I know, are okay with that.
Okay. So it's the same. It's the same as
Yeah,
it's unfortunately the same as heterosexual marriages. Okay.
sure.
So you go to you go to this bachelorette party, and you don't make out, but you're like vibing with your current girlfriend.
Yeah, and I was like feeling myself because I was like, I felt like I was fit, and I like, like I was the
Right. You look
new
good.
fresh
Yeah.
meat, and
You were a
like,
fresh meat. Yeah.
I got so much attention, I got so many
Right.
compliments. It was just like I thrived. I really,
So
really
she's
did.
complimenting you about how good
Yeah,
looking you are and how you're a lesbian. You don't know it. And you're like, yeah, I am. You're right. Don't tell anybody. Okay. So you leave the bachelorette party, and then what happens?
uh-huh. And then again, she was still dating someone at the
Mm-hmm.
time, and so we would like text or like, like via Instagram, like we would connect maybe like a couple times a week, but it really wasn't anything. She was still with the person she was with, and the wedding was in November.
Hmm.
And then leading up to the wedding, we ended up like driving to the wedding in Santa Barbara together.
Hmm.
And it was like a lot of flirting. And
Is her girlfriend
but
with her
again,
at this point? Did she
no,
bring a girl? So they broke up.
no. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're flirting with her on the ride. And again, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, and so like that weekend, and my parents were at this wedding too,
Right.
and she like ended up sleeping in my bed, but like it was platonic. Like I mean, like nothing happened. Like it was just kind of like we were spending time together. She came back drunk to my room, but it definitely felt like different, and it felt like that was the first time I think for me I had to kind of do this dance where it was like publicly something else versus like just like kind of trying to navigate like how I acted and not feeling like free to kind of explore what I wanted to explore, even though I was really into her. So the wedding happened that weekend. Again, nothing happened, and then in December she started coming over to my apartment, and that's when we started to like explore more like physically, which again was like making out for like probably like 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
I just like was not
You weren't
comfortable.
ready. Right.
I know. Mm-mm.
Okay. And are you telling
There's a
people at
lot
this
of making
point?
out.
So it's like 1 month
No.
after,
So
and you're not telling anybody.
I didn't. No, like we kind of like for us like kind of like officially started dating maybe like the new year. So I think that was 2019. So and I didn't, and it's crazy, but I didn't even talk to my family about it until 6 months later, 7 months later. And like my sister, my brother, who I'm like so close to. So I was doing this like dance of like, we would hang out in my apartment or we would like go out and do things. But like the idea of like being at a restaurant, it'd be like, looks like two friends at a restaurant, just because in LA, like I would run into people all the time and I just like couldn't. In my head, I think my biggest concerns for myself, not knowing a lot of females who talk about being bisexual, was one, if I date her, could I ever date a guy again? I thought that was like, it was like scary to me to go down that path and not be able to go back.
That seems unreasonable, a thought process.
It is,
just to be honest.
It's unreasonable. I went to law school.
Yeah.
It's not a law. It's not law.
That seems like an unreasonable thought. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that was one thing. And then I think two, I think I realized like how much I care about what people think about me. And it was so scary to feel like I had to like put a label on like what I was or what I liked. And also navigate like bringing this person into my life when I didn't feel like I had a ton of like modeling around in my community of like women who dated other women, or even women who talked about like having an orgasm or like what
But
they
you
were
did
attracted
though,
to.
didn't you? I mean, you're talking about your 3 best friends on your club team that are
Well,
married to women.
yeah. So yes, for that, but also like they were like my friends. So I had them, but I think in my like more immediate like
Oh, got
Jewish
it. Okay.
community,
I got it. Okay.
and like my mom, and like all the friends and like all that. So I think I just cared about like people talking about what I liked or what I didn't like or what I was doing, which again is unreasonable, but I mean that was just my truth. I just was scared
Got it. Okay.
what
That's
my
fair.
cousins would think about me, what you and your brother,
Yeah.
with all the setups.
Yeah. I mean, we're the setups. Okay. So you're actively dating this woman, but outwardly pretending that you have a friendship with this woman. Most people are probably suspecting that you're actually dating this woman, even though
Yeah.
you're not acknowledging that to anybody, especially the people closest to you. I haven't spoken to them, but they're not dumb. I know them,
Right.
and I'm sure they know you well enough to be like, what is happening?
Right.
It's a very uncomfortable situation for probably everybody involved, honestly. Okay, and so what's the next step? You come out to people at some point, yes?
Yeah. So I talked to my family about it. And it's such a weird thing because like it should be like I really like this person and it excites me, but it feels like I'm doing something like shameful or like
Mm-hmm.
it felt like kind of a more sad moment. Maybe I felt mostly sad with my mom, if
With
I'm
your
being
mother,
like just cause
right?
the expectation of like, and it's like, again, it's like, I was also navigating my own expectation of marrying a Jewish guy or just a guy in general. Like I didn't know this.
So
So then
fascinating.
I talked to and then I talked to my siblings and then some of my close friends. But I think I also then went through this phase where I felt like I had to like talk individually to every single person in my life because I was like, oh, I have to tell them. And then I felt like I had to justify being like, no, I didn't know that I was attracted to women. This just happened. It's random. It's not something I've been hiding, but it happened. I felt like I had to tell this whole story every single time. And that became exhausting for me.
Sounds exhausting.
As opposed to if I was dating a guy, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm dating him. And then the next day I could be like, nah, I'm not really into him. But it felt so different.
It's so odd. Like you were so inside your head because of like what we said. Like you actually have a gay brother who's been gay since forever.
Right.
And like
Right.
outwardly gay. And it's like, I mean, I imagine that your parents were very accepting of that very early. And I'm sure you saw that, no?
Yeah, I did. But again, it felt different being a female. Like for whatever reason,
Right.
I had
Okay.
these like
Fair. No, it's
differences
fair.
in my head.
It's
Yeah.
fair. You know, we worry about stuff that's just, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So you come out to people and at this point you're like fully dating this woman. And
Yeah, fully dating, although I still wasn't like posting about it the way that I would maybe post if it was something else because I was also like, it felt just like I think my biggest thing, which is probably a lot of things in my life, but like I wanted to control the information flow, even though to your point, the control is like in my own head because like people are not stupid and like people care about you, but they also don't like it. I did not to think that everyone was going to talk about it, but I think I felt so self-conscious about putting it out there in a way that I couldn't control how it was received or who saw it. So I wasn't really as like public as I might have been if I was dating a guy.
got it. Okay. So at this point, how old are you when you're coming out to people?
31.
31. So this is 4 years
31.
ago. Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, let's just pause here and just say, you tell me, have you a couple questions? Have you hooked up with another woman since you started dating your current girlfriend?
No.
Okay. And at some point you broke up with her.
Yeah.
And you guys are back together. Is that any identity reason, or is it just a normal relationship reason, which we really don't have to go into because it's nobody's real business? I mean, none of this is anybody's business, but that's really like, who cares? Like that's your business with her.
No, it was normal. It was normal relationship stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fair.
Yeah. And this definitely feels like my first like real relationship in a lot of ways.
Okay.
So,
and you're having orgasms with her.
I am.
Okay. And do you guys watch porn together? Women on woman porn?
We do not. But I will say, and I've never said this to anyone, I don't think, that the interesting thing for me is that when I was dating men, I started to fantasize about women. And dating a woman, I started thinking about men.
Wait.
So it shifts.
When you started fantasizing about women when you were dating men?
Like, I'm just saying, like, when I would think about, or like, if I guess I was pleasuring myself,
Okay.
I felt like that would be something that would turn me on.
Okay,
Versus
but
like,
when was that? That was, I asked you that already.
When?
Yeah, like, was this in your 20s?
No, we were talking about it.
So this was in your 20s?
Yeah,
You
in my later 20s, like post what that like first experience. And
Oh,
I was
okay.
like,
Okay, fair.
That.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay. So
I wasn't like, sorry, I didn't mean to drop a bomb on you.
No, yeah. I mean, I was like, are you 21 and fantasizing about women? Like, we missed that part.
Up until that point. I'm saying like after that moment.
Totally. Okay.
Yeah. So
thank you for sharing your journey. I think it's fascinating. I have some questions for you. Like, what do you quote unquote, I hate the word identity. I hate it. Mm-hmm. But what do you identify as currently? If you were to describe yourself?
It's really tough for me because for myself, I hate the word lesbian. I understand that I am in that relationship, but I don't love, it just does not resonate with me. I think if there's a word that if I have to pick one of them, it would be bisexual. I mean, I truly feel just like I have been attracted to both. I still think if I had to rate, I'm more attracted to men than I am to women, but I'm very much in love with my current girlfriend. But that's just how I feel. I don't know that there's like a word that I've been able to be like, yeah, that's it. But like,
so if you had to say something, you would say that you're bisexual.
Bisexual. Yeah. I would.
So sexuality as a whole is fascinating to me, right? It's like, I am heterosexual. I have no issue. I mean, I grew up in Northern California, the gay capital of the world. I have like literal no issues with gay people, bisexual people, transgender, like none of it. I think it's great. Everybody should be who they want, and everybody should be comfortable with who they date. I just honestly, and I would be wonderful to experience maybe being attracted to a man in a sexual way. I find men attractive. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, oh, that's a good looking guy, right? Like, I can totally see that. I'm not grossed out by men, but like, I have never been like, wow, I want to hook up with this guy. I don't think I'm suppressing any feelings about that personally, but I feel like, and this is, I actually have another cousin who's older than me who was dating many men and then married a woman and does not, and I want to speak for her, but I don't think she would consider herself a lesbian.
Right.
And I think she would say that she's attracted to this person, her wife.
Exactly.
Right. So I don't know that could ever happen for me. Maybe it could. I mean, the penis is very different than the vagina, obviously.
Sure.
You can't like have a sword fight and both get off. So it's like, I don't know. There's something about a penis and a vagina that's, very natural feeling for me. And so I don't know what it would be like. But like sexuality for younger people these days seems to be different than it is for like people of our generation. And I don't know if you have any comments about that or what you think about that. Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of the people younger than us, they just assume fluidity, or like they just have grown up at a time where like it's not like you don't have to announce you're dating a woman or you're dating a guy, you're just dating someone. And I kind of envy it just seems like there's been less like either expectations or like things put on them in terms of who you have to date, because we're now at a time where there's so many maybe examples of it. But I think like there's still a lot of people like in talk about like the Kinsey scale, like there's still a lot of people who are like very much like I'm just attracted to the opposite sex, and there's a lot of people who are like I'm just attracted to the same sex, right. And then there's a lot of people in between. And so when you even look at like my parents' or our parents' generation, it's like statistically like some of your friends, if they felt like they were able to, would have explored other things. Just that like they weren't allowed and they didn't let themselves do that. And so I think you're seeing a generation play out where people are just going with how they feel.
We're just more accepted to do that.
More accepting. Yeah.
It's just more accepted to do that.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. I mean, it's just fascinating some of what's happening in the youth in this country. I don't know where it heads. Like what do like as a hetero. So if I was like, I'm straight. Like, do you have to announce that?
Right. No, I mean, I think it's still like I think that's still the default of like, you don't have to do anything.
Got it.
You don't have to tell. And
It's still the default.
I'm not that much younger than you. I don't know.
No, you're not. That's what I'm saying. I consider you in my generation. I just turned 40. You're 35. Right. I think what I'm talking about is like 20-year-olds. Like, you talk to some of these kids and they're like, I'm like, that's different. That's different than what happened when I was growing up. Not to say that, not to judge it. But okay. So, do you think you're going to end up marrying your girlfriend? By the way, what's her name? I've never met her.
Jamie.
Okay. Are you going to marry her, do you think?
I might. I mean, she's definitely been the love of my life thus far. So I definitely think that's a possibility.
And you're not opposed to that. You'd like to get married to somebody, male, female.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the past 4 years has been me like wrapping my head around the idea of like what my family might look like, which is so different than what I expected, which was, a husband and kids. Again, my own own shit on myself. But yeah, I mean, I definitely would.
Two moms is cool. Yeah. Two moms is cool. I mean, sure. My sons, they don't like to play sports with me. So it's like they can have two moms. What would be the difference? Yeah. What do I do? I just throw them around. I guess we wrestle a lot. Okay. Is there anything else that we missed that you think is important that we should talk about? I mean, what happens if you and Jamie break up? I mean, are we going to, what do you think you would look for? And I know that's kind of a shitty question, but have you thought about that?
If I had to seek out, so I understand the idea that if I could fall in love with another woman because it's happened, I would seek out a man. Like if I had to go on an app right now and go on dates, I would seek out, that is traditionally what I've been more attracted to. I would go on dates with guys.
Have you guys ever, have you ever been with a man with the two of you?
No, we have not. I don't think she'd be interested in that.
Would you be interested in that?
I feel like the idea with a threesome in general is like traditionally I'm the one left out. So I have a lot of insecurities.
Traditionally, how often are you having threesomes that you're left out of?
I'm never. I'm just saying the idea of three people, like for me, just feels like I would be the one. There's like a lot of like things that come up for me for that.
So in this fictitious threesome that you've never had, your fictitious threesome, you're left out.
I'm left out. I'm not.
Doesn't seem like that would happen with you, Jamie, and a man.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like that would happen.
We can do a follow up if it happens. And
okay, so if it happens, you gotta promise to come on and explain to all four of our listeners, your mom, my mom, and your grandmother, and your grandmother and Aunt Mildred, exactly what that was like for everybody.
Sure. Will do.
Okay, perfect. Is there anything else that you would like to say?
No, I mean, I now told you more than I've ever told anyone in my life. So thanks for the opportunity.
Well, thank you for being so open and honest and sharing. And there was no point to this conversation except to explore a very interesting topic with a very interesting person who was very open and honest. And, I think it's fascinating personally. I mean, I'm fascinated by this kind of thing. And this is why I wanted to do this. I think
it's great for you to ask. I mean, it's nice to ask questions and also just be open to it. I think it's good for people to be okay sharing it, and it might not look the same for everyone. But
maybe somebody will hear it and they'll say, well, that's I'm going through something like that. And that's helpful. All right, Sheera, well, you're the best. We wish you well. And if you're going to be at Passover, I'll see you then in April.
We're going to have so much to talk about.
Yeah. We're definitely going to send this out too. So just so everybody understands, our family, is they're like the crazy Jewish, 100 people. There was I don't know, our grandparents, there was 8 or 9 of them. How many was there of them? And then they all procreated massively, and they insist on everybody getting together for Rosh Hashanah and Passover. So when we say we're going to send this out, there's literally 100 people we're going to send this to, and they're all going to talk about it. There'll be at least 100 people that listen to this. So that'll be great. So Sheera, thank you. And
Amen. Yeah.
We'll catch you on the flip flop. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Joel.